Hello, everyone. Welcome to the camp facade breakout, and I'd like to introduce Dr. Dilemma, our wonderful host.
We're doing it live. All right. We've practiced. We now have figured out how to use Keynote. We've been using Zoom for how long now? You think that we'd be flawless at it? But welcome everyone to the Theme Camp Symposium Camp Facade panel. And we've got some interesting things we're going to be doing this year. We're going to be reviewing some of the submissions. Little did they know, the camps that turned in their submissions, that they were going to get reviewed today. So maybe some of those camp leads are with us. Put your comments as we go along, and we're going to have some fun and learn some stuff, right? I was involved with the cultural direction setting that happened quite a few years ago. Now it seems like forever, but creating an inviting environment and an interesting facade was something that we thought was very important for theme camps. And we've been doing the slideshow for many years, showing those off, and we're going to show you a little bit more of those today. But to start, Tilt is going to go over our house rules.
Thank you, Doctor. Hi, everybody. My name is Tilt. I'm the tech moderator here, and I'm joined by Jamie, who's our chat moderator. You'll find there's rules been posted into the chat. You should see them there now. There we go. So please follow the rules. Please mute your mic if I haven't muted you already. Type any questions into the chat, as I said there. Be present. We want your attention. Be active. Participate as much as you can. And I think that's about it. There's going to be a Q&A session at the end. So just post your questions into the chat, and at the end, we'll bring them up and hopefully be able to answer many of them. So thank you very much and welcome, everybody.
All right, so what we're going to do first is just meet our panel. We're going to give folks about 1 or 2 minutes to say who they are, what camp they're from, and I'll just start off. I'm Dr. Lemma from Paradise Motel. I can now boast that we have the world's 3rd largest lawn flamingo. The first one, what was that art project? Something Rex a few years ago. That was number 1. The Flamingo Motel is number 2, and then we blatantly ripped off theirs. And we had an actual artist join the camp one year and carved ours out of foam. So after forming in 2008, somewhere around 2017, we finally had that giant flamingo that we had always wanted. And we're always forever refactoring our palm trees. Dustin was our behind the scenes person that set everything up. Say hello real quick.
Hello, real quick. Hi, I'm Dustin. I'm the mayor of the BlackRock Tea Company. You can kind of see that behind me here. And I also run the dock team on the playa. I've been going for too many years, and happy to have everyone join our breakout.
All right, next on my list, we have David Nelson Gall. I guess that's your default world name.
That's my default world name. Scribble as on Playa. I helped build, I kind of designed and built the BlackRock Tea Company, which is in the background here. And I've also was involved in setting up Mysterioso. It was actually Mysterioso that went away. And so we wanted to create a new theme camp with the community we had. And so that's our theme camp. Also been involved in a lot of art projects, but building is what I like to do. So.
All right, next we have Jason, or Peanut on Playa.
Hi, my name is Jason, and you'll see I've gone with Tropical Treehouse multiple times, and then we joined up with Paradise Motel with Dr. Dilemma and had a village, and that was also a really fun experience.
All right, Jamie, you're up the next little square on my
All right. Hey,
list
everybody.
here.
I'm Jamie. I currently camp with Burners Without Borders, and I will be your chat mod today.
All right, foam.
How you doing? I'm a Foam OG. I'm from Foam Home. I'm one of the co-founders of the camp. We started in 2009. Behind me is a look through the front of house this past year, 2022. I really can speak from perspective of a large camp, over 400 members, and we performed, I should say, high performance today during the burn with about 11,000 people this year over 4 days. Excited to be here.
All right, I see there's going to be lots of foam puns. Let's work FOMO in there somewhere too. I think that was everyone. Did I miss anyone?
I'll mention. Oh. Hey, Doctor. My camp. So I'm the tech moderator, Tilt. I'm from Camp High Maintenance with the bioluminescent slug that you can see in my background there.
Alrighty. So up next, we're going to talk a little bit about facade best practices. And here's a link to those criteria that the group that I was involved with worked on so much. Every little word we had to scrutinize over. But if you look at the visual impact section, some of the key things we talked about was creating an open and inviting and dynamic frontage that is available to the public and appropriate for the prominence of Detroit. So, you know, when you look at your camp, does it look like, hey, I feel like I can go in there and sit and chill and whatnot? Or does it look like, you know, it's all closed off with a velvet rope? You can't go but beyond. Warm, safe place. We encouraged camp signage, night lighting, keep those, don't you hate going down those dark, scary streets sometimes? So we've always tried to keep lights along the road. Are you hiding, beautifying, otherwise integrating those ugly things, those big budget trucks or whatnot? We bought a big trailer a few years back, and we painted big flamingos on it. Now it is something that we can place in the front of the camp. So let's take a look at some of our, we're going to take just a look at a few. All right. It's working. It's working this time. Everyone, can you see it? Can you see it? It's working. Oh my God. Finally. All right. So our first camp we're going to talk about here is Foam Home Bubble Entendre. Man, I finally figured that out. I'm saying it out loud now. I've been looking at this. There's their entrance. There's the inside.
It's actually, yeah, this is all front of house, including the little space with the people in it. That was like a waiting area before people could get in.
All right, panelist, tell us what you think about this particular camp.
I like it. There's all of this wonderful art on the side, and it's clearly inviting you into interior spaces. So I kind of, you know, I love the physical structures too. There's these stuff on the top and the animals. It shows there's something interesting going on here, and it's clearly surreal and whimsical and kind of fun. So I like it. I guess that sums it up for everybody.
Anyway, so a couple of things I'm noticing here is notice that they've got their speaker series, and you know, our camp will put out a little sign with, it will just, you know, use markers to say what we've got going on. But they've turned their schedule of events here into a work of art unto itself. So I'm impressed with that. I don't think I have a nighttime view of them, but here is, I think that's I don't know if that's a
Those are
trailer or.
No, those are water tanks. One is for gray water and one is for fresh water. We go through like over 25,000 gallons through just these two tanks. And since the performance, you need water for performance. I can tell you though, as the person who built this year, I felt that we were lacking on shade. Even with this shade, it's not enough, especially with the heat situation. And this is like a pre zone where people actually come inside. You can see people about to go in. We usually bring people in groups of like 30 to 50 people at a time rather than just a steady stream. But it is a tightly controlled space. There are rules to the space, but we also, we also have people who sneak in a lot, and we have to patrol the whole area and kind of wall it off, or people will just sneak in. And meanwhile, there's people who wait in line for an hour or something, and we don't want them to feel like their waiting in line was for nothing. But yeah, I think it needs more shade, and we're going to bring more shade.
No, I do like that you're covering up whatever's behind that curtain. Is it, I don't know if it's a storage or something like that, but it's slapping something that on in front of your things, your shipping containers or whatnot is a very nice touch.
Yeah, I would say that I really like the visual impact. It's particularly nice to see that this is something that is really visually impactful during the day. And my hunch is also at night, because I see these lights in the other photograph as well as this that are there on the ground. And my hunch is that's probably a black light. Yeah, you can see those two sort of black lights there. It makes me wonder, is this going to glow at night? So it kind of translates from day and night, which is great, because sometimes things only look good at night or only good during the day. So this is nice that has that uniqueness.
And the inside is kind of a hodgepodge of things here and there, but it looks super cute and nice. You don't have to buy really expensive pre-made things to make your inner space look really cute. All right.
Thanks for the feedback.
And if folks want to put some of your comments in the chat, our chat moderator will read them out. All right, what do we have up next? Okay, Coyote Garden. I had to pick these guys because they were camped behind us, I think in 2017, and their little Coyote Garden was it was very small. It was a very small camp. I think they had 8 people. And man, just in a few years, look what they've gotten themselves up to. Here's their nighttime. Their blacklight garden that I think people just walk through at night. And man, I wish one of them was here to explain. I'm not sure if the lightning is with theirs or not, or that was in the background. That just happened.
Tesla coils.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, space goats. Okay, so they were looking at space goats in the background there. But let's go back to Coyote Gardens. What do folks think about this camp?
Well, I like the artwork. I'm with you on that. It's a sculpture. It's also a landmark.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. I don't think they sent me a daytime. That's the closest to a daytime shop I got from them. But yeah, it's always good to have a landmark in there. Again, some seating might be nice. I could even see like a fire out front during the nighttime to get folks to come up in there. But
so there's a look, is that a bar in the background there? I'm just trying to understand. So I love the sculpture and the artwork. I love the idea that there's these coyotes around. So I'm imagining the sort of this whimsy. I'm wandering amongst the coyotes. is there an additional activity that they have there? Because it's, I'm trying to see what is going to pull people into the space. And this might be the puzzle of trying to figure out what is in the Coyote Garden other than coyotes. But
yeah, the description says it's wandering coyote park and kinetic art installation that brings together dozens of UV interactive coyote art pieces to celebrate the native song dog of the Americas. I don't see that mentioned here, but maybe they do at night. So
Is there like a little tower in the other photo? There it is.
I'm not sure if that's their tower or if that's an adjacent tower. So
Okay.
all right. Let's take a
Well,
look.
I just say one last thing. I think the sculptures have a little bit of plyo-tech going on. Where
Oh wait, there they are during the daytime. Sorry, my bad. There we are during the daytime. So it gives us a better indication.
oh
of
wow,
what
there's a
they've
lot
got
of
going on here.
places. That's cool. Well, I love that they're using a plyo-tech method where you can collapse these sculptures. It looks like they were just plywood that had been slotted together, like the plyo-tech benches and tables and things that we've made in the past. And anyway, it might have been. I just want to say I'm seeing transporting this being a little bit easy if you can make it all flat, and I bet you can.
I would like
You
to
know, that-
see that the U-Haul is covered up. That's there in the
yeah.
background, so we don't see the branding.
That's a good point.
That's a good point. And I know they're going for a desert theme, but I'd love a little bit more splash of color, maybe. All right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, these guys. So if you've ever heard me tell the tale of how many times Paradise Motel has had to refactor our palm trees, and man, they're such a pain to get up. I go by these guys, and when I camp memories, I said, why can't we have palm trees like that? So I have a love-hate relationship with Cuddle Oasis. I don't know if anyone's here with them. It's only hate. The hate is only because y'all do it so darn good. So let's take a look at what they've got. They've got like a bar here. I like the ground effect lighting.
Lots of bike parking. That's awesome.
Good
And
point, good
it's
point.
inviting from a distance too, because of the height of the trees.
yep, I agree. And they look fun. Like I'm trying to understand how they got constructed, but what's brilliant about them is the illumination is clear. It makes it clear that from afar that not only is it identifying the camp, it's identifying their theme. From anywhere you can glimpse it, you can kind of feel like, oh, this is going to feel beachy, relaxing, fun, right? So it's a great way to kind of introduce your camp, and it's wide open. You know exactly. It's not a concealed space at all. You know that there's this bar, this relaxing area to be in. I'm looking for seating if there's any places to lounge, but I love the palm trees, and the illumination is great. Is that dome part of the camp?
I believe so. This is and then they've got something going on in the background there that it's harder to see.
Yeah.
But I think they've got
It's to be complimented that they're using, it looks like, the entire frontage of the camp as well.
Yeah.
Like none of it, there's no vehicles parked here. Like it's all activation. You've got the dome, with the bar and it looks like a DJ area. So kudos to Cuddle Oasis.
And the back structure is hiding something, so maybe that's they're hiding some sort of trailer that they have back there with artwork and stuff.
Now we've had some questions around how to hide vehicles that you have to return in good order. So you don't want to be like duct taping on it. We can address that later, but panelists, do you have any thoughts around that?
Masking tape won't harm the rental, and stretch fabric, especially if it's printed or has artwork on it, is better than the logo. But stretch fabric goes a long way, three-way stretch, and it can be reused in a lot of versatile ways to hide things.
Three-way stretch sounds like a good playa name for some reason.
Yes.
All right, now let's move on since I've resorted to bad jokes. So Lost Highway, I thought they were interesting. Let me read their description. Lost Highway, a section of desert highway mysteriously disappeared in 1959, and it finally reappeared complete with paranormal, trippy, vintage, and sun-baked roadside attractions you can explore. We've got some other pictures here. Dusk. And there they are.
They like it.
Now,
So,
I picked them because I don't think they're not a huge camp.
Yeah.
But I think it's showing some of the interesting things you can do with a smaller camp. So what if folks
and is the trailer an actual diner that do they feed people in that diner, or is it
don't know?
it's just a stage for the DJ or something to get up on?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to go inside or not. I don't know.
It suggests it. I love the lighting on it and everything.
I'm seeing a DJ on top of
Yeah.
the RV. So
Okay. I love the flaming tire. That's cool.
In the old vehicles.
Oh, it's a donut.
a nice sign. You can find it at night. We did really want to stress folks should have a camp sign name somewhere, because I do recall when I was working for the Peers, formerly Frontage Squad, we had these little maps we were walking around with, and we got asked 50 times when we went out, where is such and such a camp? I don't know yet, because it's harder to find them. So, all right, let's move on to nuclear dandelion. There's our nighttime.
Oh.
Oops. What happened to it? I think it might have ended. Let me try to go. Give me 1 second. All right, so there it is, daytime and then nighttime. What do folks think?
Nighttime really pops. Nighttime is really, really a great look. It's very inviting. It looks warm.
Well, I noticed the bike
Also,
parking
smaller yeah.
off to the side. There's some bike parking. That's something that we also offer a lot of bike parking. It wasn't in our photos, but if you're going to have a party, you should have some bike parking.
Yeah, it's for the smaller camp. I think they use their space well, and it looks like they've got their cars and their stuff behind that, which is always a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that at night it's a nice inviting place to just hang out. It just looks like if you need to crash here. During the day, though, it's also a respite from the heat, the direct sun. If it's a dust storm, it might be a little bit less inviting, but at the same time, it looks obviously a place to take a break, which seems to be the intent.
And we won't have to critique this one because I'd have to say it's everyone. Don't you agree? This is practically perfect in every way, right? And during one of the slideshow extravaganzas, I showed a picture of our first year, and we had lawn flamingos literally just driven into the ground and plastic palm trees that blew away in the dust storm of 2008.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was our little facade critique, something new we're trying this year. Give us some feedback. Did you like it? Did you if you loved it, give us 5 stars, and remember to mash that subscribe button. All right, moving on to the next part is the panelist insights. And we're gonna have folks prepared something. Who wants to go first?
I'll go, since we didn't. That's our camp there. And we didn't critique it. You guys might want to give us some critique. Like I said before, there's 3 theme camps, and as well as another camp that I've been involved with. Initially it was French Quarter, and that sort of had like this really nice structure on which villages every year new things could be created. So bakery and other sorts of things, but it was basically a structure that then all sorts of things could happen with it year after year. But that structure says, if anybody's seen French Quarter, it sort of hits a theme, and then people can get really creative around it. This is, I don't know, people haven't given us critique on it. What was really nice about this was it was a small group of people who came together, and we said we wanted to have a tea shop. And so is it an English tea shop or maybe a Chinese or Japanese tea shop? We went with an English tea shop. So we had all sorts of fun with Victorian styles and other things, and the little fencing and all that stuff to create a space. What was great about it, and something people can consider, we had lots of projects and lots of weekends where our community of our camp got together and made stuff, made the fencing, made different structures, and we all kind of came together. And having those build weekends was actually really fun in terms of getting a bunch of people who are maybe only meeting each other at Burning Man now to kind of do stuff off Playa and make things. So that was sort of, I think, a benefit of the structure. We've learned many things about it, but my main thing is I really like creating things that are slow versions of whatever it is in the real world. And so I think that the tea shop kind of has done this in a very cute little way, but people may think differently about it. I don't know.
All right. Next. Who wants to go next? Jamie, do you want to go? Or Foam?
Let's have Foam OG go next.
Okay.
Okay, I apologize, all these beeps. I'm not sure if they're coming from me or not, but a lot of alerts coming through at this moment, and I can't seem to get it to stop. So yeah, Foam Home is basically a performance space. We didn't show the inside of the space because we don't do video or photography inside the space. But front of house, since we are dealing with a rush of people over like a 4-hour period daily, what we like to do is usually games and interactivity. And I don't, and it hasn't been mentioned too much yet on this call, but I think that's like the best part. And I want to give a few examples of what we've done in the past, since rather than having a captive audience just standing there waiting in line, very concerned about losing their spot in line, we try to break down this idea and get people to think that they're in a group of people, and it doesn't matter where they stand among that group of people, because now this group is doing an activity and the group is going to pass through the process of entering our camp as an activity. They're also joining our camp, and that's for legal reasons, because of the so-called showers in the space. It's actually not, they're not showers, it's a performance space, and they're performing and they're joining the camp. So they have to go through some sort of initiation ritual. This initiation ritual one year was that they had to imagine that they were a single cell amoeba and they had to find protein and sugar. And rather than have them standing in front of our camp playing games, we actually sent them to other camps in the neighborhood and said, you have to find the protein and sugar from another place, not from here. And we gave them this shade structure we made out of a luminette that had like features of an amoeba, had all the features. We would figure out who the leader was based when we put it up on sticks, little bamboo sticks. They had to hold it on the sticks, but it wasn't attached to the sticks. So they had to figure out ways to keep it from flying away while it's on the sticks. But about 50 people could fit under this thing when they were all doing it together. And you still need a leader. So the person who could find the nucleus, they were made the leader. Like usually they'd be standing right under it. And they would go off to the other camps and ask these other camps for protein and sugar. And at first, the neighboring camps were happy to get all the foot traffic. They weren't busy. They weren't getting a lot of visitors, and we were getting too many visitors. So we sent them away. And we said, when you come back with protein and sugar, you'll come to the front of the line. If there's, because not everybody wanted to do this game, and some people just wanted to stay in line. And we said, okay, if you don't want to participate this way, you can stand in line. I guess that's the way you're going to participate. But they would come back with bar candy, and they come back with, whatever, meat, jerky, all kinds of drinks, and we would pass the test, and they'd be very excited. But as the week went on, we told the camps nearby to us, don't assist these amoebas, send them further out. We're getting busier and we need them to go out longer in between, when they arrived and when they actually get to perform. It could be like 2 hours. So some people were having to, some groups went, all the way down to the Esplanade looking for protein and sugar, and they're marching around with this shade. And suddenly they're doing something. They're creating art on the fly. They're improvising. They're pretending, being childlike. And but anyway, that's the kind of activity we like to push. Like one year we had people confess to the animals. One year we had people express their deepest, most hidden desire and make it unhidden. It was just, it's all about that interactivity. So having a team of people that are thinking about how your camp is facing the world at 24 hours a day, if you're open 24 hours a day, or just when you're open at least, I think is a really special thing about Burning Man that I've enjoyed immensely over the years. And plus we've done games, we've done Greco-Roman wrestling. If you want to cut the line, well, you can wrestle for it. And people would voluntarily wrestle, and we have olive oil lathering them up and stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. Like, the front of house, the front of your camp is not just about the lighting and the appearance, but also the interactivity. And that is the most special part. And you should always maybe set some time aside each day. For us, it's about 4 hours a day when we're totally on, like when there's 15 people out there. And also we have someone who's dealing with bikes, someone who's dealing with sneakers who try to sneak in through side entrances to the camp, and politely explain to them what's going on, that they need to wait their turn. And yeah, and we even have people, we do a consent training as well. That's another thing. I mean, if you're a camp that's doing any kind of nudity whatsoever as part of your activity, you might want to do consent training, just so people don't assume things about the space. Because even though there's nudity, it's actually an all ages space. It's a non-sexual space. And so, we give people the rules as they're coming in and get them to buy in on it. So that's basically what I wanted to add to this talk. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, get your questions ready. We'll be doing that in a bit. Who's next? Peanut? Did you want to go? No.
Yeah, I can go.
Thank you.
Sure. I'm just going to share a few photos of Tropical Treehouse and how that camp put some things together. Tom Hubbard, also known as Sawyer, did a really amazing job of like thinking up a lot of these things. So I want to give credit right now. But yeah, here, let me just share some of the photos in the ways that I know people asked earlier about like, how do you hide trucks and things like that? And I think this is a good example. So in this, I hope folks can see my screen. Do you see a photo?
Yep, it's up.
Okay, great. So you can see here tropical treehouse, and then there's this wonderful shade structure that was made, and it's great because you can. These curtains actually are reactive to black light, so it has nice visual aesthetic at night. And so are these colors, and you can see this is sort of huge burlap that was used to cover up the sides of tents so that it gives that sort of this is more of like a cabin or something that was like a ship, you know, that was wrecked and then built into Swiss Family Robinson kind of a, you know, thing. So you can see, you know, these are our campmates. Back here is where people would enter in. You can there's not a lot of shade during the day at Burning Man, which is interesting. So we were like really intent on bringing some shade, and people were always stopping and saying, oh gosh, can we just please go inside? This is one of the parties that we had where we let's see, had like a parasol decorating party. You can see a lot of people have come and they're actually enjoying the shade a lot more than they are outside. And then you can see this is a great aerial photo just showing, you know, how things were covered up with that burlap. And it just brings, you know, and you can do that with your U-Haul or whatever truck that you're renting, stuff like that. So, and another thing that was really interesting, I don't have a photo of it, but the gray water, let's see, the way that the camp dealt with it was there were these large evaporation ponds, and they looked like actually like little ponds, and then they, you know, that's where everything would evaporate, and it was really easy because, you know, you can put like your toothpaste, you know, stuff, or, you know, like coffee grounds or things like that inside, and then they're in these tarps, and then you can just fold them up, and so it kept the playa safe. It evaporated pretty fast because it does get pretty warm. And those are, but it also added to the aesthetic. Usually people are like hiding that, and this was part of the aesthetic, which was, I thought, a really good idea. I thought that was clever when I saw that.
All right, thanks for that. And farewell warning, Peanut. I took a screenshot and sent Sawyer. I'm going to tease him about, look, you had abs in that picture. Maybe I'm being too mean. Who do we have left? I think Jamie, did you have something for us?
No, I didn't have anything today, just chat modding. So if you guys have any questions, please.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that was
Can I
my
just follow
fault.
up
Who do we?
on what Peanut was saying
Yeah.
about using some of the less popular things that, you know, like you mentioned the evaporation pond as an art piece. We've done similar things over the years. This past year, though, we had an activity that in order to gain admittance, you needed to find sea life, because it was a sea theme this year, and you had to dig through basically a large trough of plastic waste that was generated throughout the week, that grew throughout the week. And in that trough, there were seashells. And if you found the seashell, that would gain you admittance. So there was this interactivity and sort of, and also like a talk about the oceans and a plea to leave no trace. But one of the things you also notice is that we had the easiest cleanup front of house because we actually put a place where you could put MOOP. And we've never done that before. I've never put out like a MOOP spot where you ask, give us your MOOP, we'll take it. And it turned out to ease our lives as the week went on. We were having less MOOP on the ground. I think a lot of people are secretly just dropping MOOP. They think no one's watching. And so if you have a lot of foot traffic at your camp, if you're a big sound camp or something and you're having a major DJ, I mean, afterwards, it's like, what just happened? And I'm starting to think we do need to actually give people a place where they can put their MOOP as a gift to them if they're out and about and you're not home. So we had some controversy in the camp for putting a receptacle out front, but we turned it into art and actually a project where you would dig through it, and it worked out, actually, kind of worked out.
Interesting. All right. So I think I got all the panelists, if not mistaken, and even the chat moderator, because it's been one of those days. I'm going to share something with y'all here. I talked a little bit about it earlier. Can you see it? Does it work? All right. I want everyone to say bless their hearts when you look at this, because, you know, if we're going to critique this particular slide, this was Paradise Motel's first year, 2008. There are the plastic palm trees that I don't know where they are. I think they got swept away to China. They blew away. We thought we would make the walls be pink by putting some contact paper over tarp. And if anyone remembers 2008, it's probably one of the dustiest years we've ever had, strongest wind. It sandblasted it away. We had to take it all down. And then using a parachute as shade sounds like a great idea, except for a parachute is designed to do what? Capture wind. Yeah, so that came down as well. There we were. That was our first attempt at a theme camp. I think we did everything wrong you could possibly do. Putting the sign up on top of the RV had the same effect. So I once said the only reason they let me on the camp council is because I've done everything wrong you could do with a theme camp ever. So I can tell everyone things that you should not do. It is true. So our second year, we put the sign on the ground. We actually painted an RV pink. There's a long story there. Ask me someday if you catch me on playa. And then we had our little tent for our snow cones. Then we actually got an honest to God shade structure for the first time. Oh my God, that made the biggest difference in the world. If you're going to invest in anything, invest in a nice shade structure. Some other folks have mentioned it. This was that camp at night. And then we got a little bit bigger. Some folks put that pink tent over there. And we had that for many years. And then if you see along the road, see those flags? We had a couple of years where people decided they were going to squat on us. And so those flags serve a dual purpose. They've got LED lights on top that illuminate the street during the nighttime, and they're spaced apart exactly close enough that you could not drive a car through it and come and try to squat on our land at night. Yeah, you can see there, it would be hard to do that because we tried to leave a bunch of space up front for bike parking and whatnot, but then you'd find people camping on it. So we tried to keep them out with that. And then the RV got updated. The first RV was the USS Nancy Reagan, and this is the USS Barbara Bush. Again, a long story that we won't tell today. And we upgraded our snow cone tent. Notice the difference this year to this year where all they did was zhuzh things up with a little bit of fabric. That's just a little bit of fabric zip tied there. See what difference that makes? It's really easy to do. And then this was the year that we got our sign. I had been trying for ages to get something that looked like this. I had a vision, I had a dream of it. And we just happened to have the guy that worked for Apple doing artist there. He said, I don't actually get to do anything with my hands anymore. And all I did was bought him the foam, and he built this. And then there was a burner from the 90s that said, you guys sound cool. I'll do the neon at cost. And so otherwise we'd never been able to afford to have this made. And then we decided, thank you, Fixer, for getting us in touch with this. This was the ugly trailer that we bought, and we all got together. There's lots of painting. There were stencils, and we have this. Now, this you can put in the front of your house. It can be fun. We use this door. We go in. We put like there's the camp in front of it. We put a little lounge inside. The AC actually kind of sort of works. We do a little spa in there, and this is circa 2019. So the whole point of this part is, we've got the feather flags we added that year. This is very close to where we are now. I guess the point here is, you see these camps, these really cool camps with all this stuff. It doesn't happen necessarily overnight. You do not have to look great your first year. I mean, you can start off looking like this, ridiculous, and then just keep adding year to year, you know, shade structure, then new palm trees, then a sign, then a trailer, and it starts adding up after a while. So that's my little feel there around that. So we're gonna do questions, but oh, Dustin, do you want to share your camp photo?
I do. So this,
Real quick.
not my camp. This is a picture of the theoretically, supposedly the very first theme camp ever, 1995. It was the Tiki Camp. It's a pretty low res picture, but it was Stuart Mangrum and his wife and his cohort. Stuart is now the director of the Philosophical Center. He's the guy who comes up with the themes every year. He was one of Larry's best friends, and this was, he claims, it's the very first theme camp. Very simple, but an intriguing facade, I think. Just a little, and I do have another even lower res photo. Let me see if I can share that. But yeah, and he, according to Stuart, that was, this is how theme camps started. So yeah, here's another. Fortunately, you know, this is 1995, so you can see, maybe if I shrink it down, it's a pretty low res, but you know, they had some palm trees, they had some decoration, and it really it kind of kicked off the idea of theme camps. And for how many years ago was that? All of them. It was pretty, you know, pretty clever. So I thought folks would be interested in seeing that. And if you go to galleries, I'll post the link, and you can type in Tiki and maybe find some other camps, pictures too.
All right, so not only can we do questions at this point, because Lord knows we're all, you know, all learning together. If you've got a suggestion also you'd like to make of something that you've done with your camp, put that in there as well. And happy to hear from some other folks, because we're just all
I'm curious,
theme camps trying to do it ourselves.
I want to ask a question. I'm curious, and people can just post into the chat. It's like they came to this session for a reason. Are you creating a new camp, or are you struggling with issues on how to do something fun with your current camp? What is sort of the mix here? People just looking for ideas, or looking to start something completely new? Yeah. Okay.
You know, signage is actually a very interesting question. We had a sign up here. Does a camp need a large sign announcing who they are, or is it colorful? You know, it makes it easier for people to find. Oh, go check out this camp. On the other hand, you know, is it really necessary to have a big sign out in front announcing who you are? What does the rest of the panelists think about that?
Yes, a sign with it, not just the name of the camp, but also a schedule of events, especially if you put all this effort into programming and you have no frontage that's really inviting people to come in. Because we do workshops, and we really didn't show any photos from the inside of our camp at all. But it's a big camp. It holds 500 people in a large amphitheater like style space during the day. Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies holds lecture series there, and then we perform there. So I mean, like, once you get your activity going and you want to like showcase that activity, you need something that tells people what's going on inside, I think, right out front, because a lot of people are just cruising this town, and maybe like younger burners, people who maybe first-time burners, are virgins, are I think they're looking to, where do I fit in? So if you're trying to recruit, if you're trying to bring in new blood into your camp all the time, it's something that just that initial, that first putting something out there that says we're friendly, not, it goes a long way. People will want to come in. And that space, I just want to clarify, I maybe don't remember, but at the very beginning, there was a space of people seated out in a little space. That was actually outside of our camp. That's just a space for people to get out of the sun when they're waiting to, or they're just after they've been in our space. We were also doing meditation in there. There was a person leading guided meditation. Like it was almost like its own space. But I was in a
So-
small camp for 2 years, by the way, called Struggle Tent. And that's my first 2 years at Burning Man, and all we did was struggle. That was actually our theme.
I mean, so like, I think there's a couple of points here. One was like on sign, and Burning Man's a place where it's more about the attempt than the product. But that's why I think it's really important to kind of allow yourself some whimsy and a chance to fail. And you learn through failure as much as you learn through sort of successes. Lighting is a big part of things. You can come up with a really nice signs, but making sure that sign is lit well, or other parts of your space are lit well, is something people maybe it takes some trial and error sometimes. But what I think is really great is if you can get together with your potential campmates, brainstorm on an idea, and then where does that idea go? Our idea was, it was the year of iRobot, and it was like, okay, robot repair shop and tea, because people wanted to do tea. And that just sort of morphed into what can we do with that? And just going crazy. That what's up here is we even invented a logo, and there's this, it was sort of like, okay, we're a BlackRock tea company. So we kind of made a logo, and we've got lampposts that are old Victorian lampposts and fencing. And so it's like these things just keep spiraling on each other, but it kind of begins with that, what's your inspirational idea, right? And just allow yourself to go in different places, and some things don't work and some things do work, but permit yourself to start with an idea and then push it as far as you have energy for. So
I have a few comments to contribute. There was a question earlier about like, do you want to have a big sign or something like that? So I think it's important to have, it doesn't have to be necessarily a big sign, but something that you can see from a bit of a distance to know exactly where home is. So this is great for your own campmates. That's why it was great at Paradise Motel, where you could see the flamingo and it was like, oh, we're on the right road. Because things can start to look just everywhere. You don't know if you're going the right place. And so it's great to like have that, so you can know, oh, I go home because I'm at the rubber duck camp, and there is a rubber ducky camp, and they have a huge rubber ducky that elevates, and you just know where to go. I think that's great. So there's that. It becomes really easy to say, oh, you take a right, at the rubber duck, and then you'll see the big pink flamingo, and then you'll see the Golden Gate Bridge, and you're on, you're starting to go into the playa. And then someone, I think earlier, asked about like lighting and sustainability. I think that was gosh, all these comments, so I don't know, but somebody asked about that. One of the things that we've done with success is use like solar lights, because they don't use up a lot of energy and they just self-charge. And because they're LED versions, they last kind of most of the night. Yeah, you can really go kind of all kinds of crazy with solar lights. They make solar lights that do everything from blink and colors to look like something warm and inviting with like the Edison bulbs. So that's really great.
Can I just jump in on this? Like a small structure, like a 8-foot, using like 8-foot ply type of structure that has a roof that you can put the panels on. Then you have shade, and you can probably put 300 watts worth of panels on a small structure, and those 300 watts will charge your battery, and then you can run things off an inverter. And as long as you're doing like 15-watt LEDs, fairy lights, which maybe you just use batteries that you can recharge at maybe off a generator that's in your camp somewhere, because I'm really getting into lithium ion battery packs, the kind you'd use to recharge your phone, but connecting those to fairy lights and seeing if you can do so much with fairy lights, and they're very inexpensive. And you can light a sign, like really make it visible with just fairy lights. And you know, maybe you have to swap that battery a few times throughout the week, and get it charged. But again, that's like part of the maintenance of the space. But I'm really, it's gotten so easy to light a front of house with just solar. You should not be doing it with a generator. If it's cheaper, it's just easier and cheaper. If your camp has tons of power, I could see why they'd say, let's just plug it in. But aren't we all supposed to be getting away from using generators? I mean, I heard that this morning. And we've tried for years, and it's yeah.
So,
Phone, we have
in
a question.
fairy, I just want to get back to the fairy light thing. Sometimes
We have a question though, real quick. Someone wants to know, what is the fairy lights? Can we
Oh,
define
okay.
them real quick?
Yeah, they're like these little teeny lights that come in strands. So they're like little tiny lights. But we've made chandeliers out of you can get these really like 0.4 watt bulbs that go into sockets that you can actually make a lighting strand of your own. You can get like 100 of these what are Christmas tree light sockets that plug into lamp cord. So you can get these prepackaged lights that are of very fixed width strands, and the lights are perfectly lined up. But if you want to do something custom, you can get these really cheap sockets that you just crimp onto lamp cord, these 2-wire lamp cords, and you can make anything you want. So like we had chandeliers and other sorts of things, and the 0.4 watt bulbs that you can get for that, take almost no power whatsoever, which will dovetail into solar systems or whatever you got. But that's a way to make it your own thing. So
Yeah, and I'll comment around the LED lights. So if you saw it in our slides, the first year there, we had some of those little solar powered like lawn lights that you like put down a path, and of course they got immediately tripped over and broken and whatnot. So then if you can see it off to the right here, what we ended up doing is we found some of them that exactly fit into 1-inch PVC piping, and then we put 4-foot rebar into the ground, and you just put the PVC on top of the 4-foot rebar. So you got about 2 foot of rebar in there, put a flag on it, and you put the solar power light on top of it. We've never had, I mean, we've had bikes knock them over, but generally wind is not ever going to knock them over. You can do all sorts of amazing things with solar powered LED lights for your front sign. Take a piece of plywood, paint it, take some of those fairy lights, solar powered, don't have to touch them all week. Boom, for $20, you've got a front signage going on there, or little floodlights. Neon LED is pretty. Tell us a little bit more about that, phone.
Yeah, so you've probably seen them. They're like fairly thick, actually, rope. It could be like a 50-foot or even 100-foot long. It's LED, but it has this like silicone that makes it opaque. So instead of seeing the light, you don't actually see a single light. You just see like a glowing tube. And a lot of mutant vehicles use it now. It's become really common. It's actually, it gives you it looks just like neon, except it's not neon. It's which is glass and gas and all kinds of, and high energy, right? It's like a lot more power for like the neon sign and Dr. Dilemma and your camp. How many watts was that when you made it?
I don't want to tell you. I don't want to tell you. It's a lot. So if I was redoing it, that sign is glass neon, and yes, I have broken it once and have had to have it repaired. So there's the LED neon stuff that you can get now, which takes like 1/10 of the power. I would highly suggest doing that instead of what I did. So
you can run it off a car battery all night. Like you
Yeah.
know, 150-watt strand. It's yeah, it's great stuff.
Everybody's doing it. Peanut, I was going to say something, but I think you'd be a good person to answer this around flags, because Tropical Treehouse can do amazing things with flags, and it's not super expensive to do. And I know you lit them up with those solar things on top of it. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this was one of Sawyer's ideas, and he got 3 different flagpoles. They're all very tall, and they're actually they're the same like version. And the lights that you're talking about is something that it came with that screws onto the top. It affixes on the top and charges during the day, and then beams light on the flag, which is great because we also know where our camp is at night. And then other people, we can tell them, oh, just look for the flags. And let's see, the 3 flags, there was the Tropical Treehouse camp flag, and then we had the state of California flag, and then we also had a Brazilian flag, because there are people from, not Brazil, I'm sorry, Argentine, the Argentine flag. Because we have, our camp is also like, has a lot of people from Argentina in it. And so it was great because it was representative of the camp, but also it had a function, you know, like, which was to help to like navigate, you know, sometimes at night or wherever you can see something. And then also it did look good. We had lights that were, you know, string lights that would come all the way down and into a zone where people would, you know, like lounge or, you know, anything during the day or night. And so it also structurally looked really beautiful.
I had a question from the chat that I thought was interesting. Daniel Laporte is asking, how do you make your frontage inviting or welcoming? So what are you guys doing to have people curious to wander into your camps?
Well, I think in his question, it was sort of like, well, when people get into the space, they were having a great time, but he was having trouble getting them in. And openness to the outside world, and I think he answered his own question privately. I was talking to him, you know, that is it facing front, or is it, you know, some awkward presentation to the street where if you walked in a different direction, you wouldn't even notice that it was there. So it's really important to kind of assess how open and inviting you are, and how clear is your interactivity. That seems to then bring people in. If this is like, if you're finding that your camp is great once people are there, but they're not coming in, then maybe consider those things.
I wanted to chime in about, you know, sound. We talked all visuals, but there is a sound element, and you know, Black Rock City is the noisiest city on the planet for a week or so. But nonetheless, if you have music, or you have other, or even I've heard some camps have sound effects, you know, twittering birds or roaring lions or something. That, you know, it doesn't need to be loud. It only needs to be heard as you pass by. But you know, but even some music. We have in the Black Rock Tea Company, we have the live piano in the afternoon, piano karaoke, and that seem to really draw when people hear singing and a live piano. But you know, there is that sound element, but you have to be careful, you know, not to be too loud, but also drowned out. But it is
human karaoke,
exactly. But you know, so there is an element. I have seen some camps do some pretty cool, subtle things with sound, like right at their entrance, as people bike by, they hear. Of course, there's always bullhorns, and that. that's a great tradition of Burning Man, is the stand outside your camp with a bullhorn, but that gets old. Anyways, my 2 cents.
Nice. And the last question we have coming in here was for dome covers ideas. So does anybody have any experience with covering domes that breathes? I think you guys can see the question in the chat, but any experience there?
Not parachutes.
Yeah, you have to really think about fabrics, right? Because if you want it to breathe, then it's going to have tiny little holes in it, but then you're going to get really dusty on the inside. And then the absence of any holes or anything like that, it's going to get a little warm. And so there's like a balance in the certain fabrics. I think the ones that I've seen have a lot of success are ones that can hold, like have larger holes, like a burlap, but also the ability, you know, so it can breathe, but it's also catching some of the dust in like a sandstorm. So, you know,
Yeah,
those are the kind of fabrics you might want to think about.
The first year we had our lovely shade structures, it was worked great. And then the next year we had dust storms, and it was just a regular tarp, a solid tarp. And the dust storm, it started to rip all of its grommets out. And we had the most heroic thing where people are up on someone's shoulders with a grommet fixing tool. It was crazy. You had to have been there. So the next year we got Luminette, write it down, Luminette. It's going to be one of the more pricier things that you might buy, but yeah, there it is. Oh, wait, you got to turn your magic.
Yeah, I'll show it
screen
next.
off.
I've actually got some commentary on this, Doctor. So.
Tell us about it. Preach to us.
I will. So unfortunately, I don't have great photos of our frontage, but our camp's been around for a long time. Can you see that? Right now? Now, our camp is really about our art car, right? So we spend a lot more time on the art car than we do anything else. And we've been through a bunch of exercises with the camp itself, and we went from something like Dr. Dilemma had with those flat, metal structure with some sort of canvas. Then we went to pop-ups, and we thought pop-ups were brilliant because, they all fold down. We had like 16 pop-ups. They're horrendous, right? Because you've got 4 legs each pop-up. You've got to pin down each one. And they actually trap heat underneath, and they're very, very low. So they're not very good devices. And the amount of weight and equipment you have when you're doing pop-ups is just a nightmare. So then we had a neighboring camp that's now joined us that was playing with the Luminette. And this was, I looked at their design and I adjusted the design a bit. This is our first prototype setup of that design. And we went from having 16 pop-ups and the amount of space that takes, even when they're compressed, to the entire soft section of our camp, our town center, which is 40 by 40, fits into that bag. Now, that's an important part when you think about this frontage, any sort of camp setup, think about your logistics of actually getting stuff up there and getting it back. And I love Illuminate. This is now our camp setup. We've got a 40 by 40 bit of carpet. We put the poles up. This is 2 people put this up in about 2 hours. And it's all plumbing equipment. And that is 70% reflective Illuminate. It's super light and soft. It lets air through and reflects a huge amount of light. And we're actually working with the manufacturer now on an 80% one. So, and what this allows you to do, let me go to something in, this is all our prototype setups. But what it allows us to do is to create this incredible space when you get inside. So this is our frontage. We'll do a better job with the photos next time. But inside this space, it is, even this last year was so horrendously and hot, it is cool, it's breathing, it handles all the wind. We have a nice little bar set up there. We eat these great dinners every night. So big advocate, if you're looking at your camp design, Illuminate is the way to go. It's an investment, but our Illuminate that you're looking at there, we bought probably 5 years ago. It's done 3 or 4 burns. It's done tough burns, and it's still going. And we're now doing 3 of them. So we've got 2 town centers and also what we call the favela. We're actually putting all that to try and encourage more tents, more pop-ups. We're trying to get rid of RVs, a few RVs. We're actually putting one of these up just for the tents at the back of our camp. So we can actually, reduce our impact a little bit there. So definitely Illuminate is the way to go.
I also like how you illuminated the Luminette. You made sort of a lighting effect on the Luminette, which was really cool.
Yeah, you can blow up into it really nice. It reflects really well. And then this became a little bit too much because that bar area there, like we had people constantly streaming into our bar, even though it wasn't meant to be a bar. Like that was meant to be internal, but we then effectively became a public bar.
You made it too inviting.
Yeah. Which we like. No, we're actually doubling down on that next time this year.
So to talk a little bit about, and we're almost out of time, the Luminette, and then, all right, is that coming up? Here we are building our main shade structure. There are companies, they're usually like greenhouse places that will sell you these kits. Generally, you buy the kits, which are the joints, the joiner parts on the edges there, and then the poles you see there are chain link fence posting stuff, and it's a little bit pricey. I'm not gonna lie, but that's probably one of the best investments a camp can make is to You go to the greenhouse places, you buy the joiner things, and you go to your local hardware store and have the pipes cut to the right lengths. They're a pain in the butt to get out there, but when you get to a certain size, when a Costco carport isn't doing you anymore, you can go that route, and it is and put the Illuminate on top and zhuzh it up with some fabrics and fun things, and you're good to go. But that's the approach that I think a lot of camps have come to, is that you really need these metal structures, and we take lag bolts on the little feet, and they work pretty well. Lag bolts.
Definitely.
Another trick that everybody has learned. They make everything stay put, and we like to put tarps down in messy places, especially over our snow cone stand, so we can just zip it all up afterwards. All right, in our last 5 minutes, any
By the way, Doctor,
closing
just
thoughts?
very quickly on the Illuminate front, I'm talking to the manufacturer of Illuminate right now. This is their 80% one, which most people use 70%. They've now got this 80% out, and they're doing a reinforced surround for burners. So if you need no more information, just reach out to me, because they're actually, the burning community has become so big for them. They're actually designing it around our needs a little bit more.
You may want to post it to the chat, the link to it.
Where do the kids go to chat these days about tips and tricks of things? There was back in my day, we had this thing called ePlaya that was like bulletin board system almost. But where's the best place to go for trading? Hive. I see Hive twice there. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as the Illuminate as an aluminum, is you can also cover vehicles with it. We were asking earlier about what to cover rental vehicles. You can also do it with Illuminate, and I've also cut up Illuminate and reshaped it to look like other things, that instead of just being the rectangular or square pieces. And it actually is very easy to sew on a regular sewing machine. So if you know how to sew, I've made hats with Illuminate and fabric combined that are like amazing on the playa. So you're wearing Illuminate on your head, but it does actually breathe well, and so it's a pretty cool fabric. You can make outfits out of it.
You can even also, with your RVs, you can just put some empty boxes on top of your RVs in 4 corners and lay Illuminate over the top and pin it to the ground, because that shade and the gap makes it's like 20 degrees difference. It's magic.
All right, remember, Illuminate, lag bolts, solar powered LED, all the things. Zhuzh up with just fabric and whatnot. Boom, you got yourself a camp. Don't think you have to do everything all at once. Don't look at these camps with like, oh my God, those palm trees. I'll tell you a secret. Those things cost like $20,000 each. They're expensive. Don't break your bank over it. You can do fun things. You're imaginative, some fairy lights on plywood, not cardboard, because it'll fly away, and just try it. Just try it. And if it's like horrible and you don't, just try something different next year. So I want to thank everyone that helped out with this today, and the folks that came and asked all your questions, and go to Hive, keep this conversation going. Dustin, thank you for all the work you did getting this panel all together. And we got a little bit of break until the next session start at 14:30. So stretch and hope to see y'all in some of those other sessions.